An hour after President Trump ended his speech, the insurrectionist mob overwhelmed Capitol security and made it inside the halls of Congress. Because the truth is, this attack never would have happened but for Donald Trump. And so they came, draped in Trump's flag, and used our flag, the American flag, to batter and to bludgeon. And at 2:30, I heard that terrifying banging on House chamber doors. For the first time in more than 200 years, the seat of our government was ransacked on our watch.
That Congresswoman Madeline Dean of Pennsylvania with an emotional account of the riot on January 6th, just delivered a couple hours ago. My next guest, he was also there that day, and he just tweeted out what he's feeling right now, and I'm going to quote, "Watching impeachment trial video of the Capitol riots with tears as the lawless mob desecrate our Capitol and threaten to kill members and Pence. I reflect on my hurried escape from House chambers and am so lucky they didn't get to me. My life was saved by Capitol Police." Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee, he joins me now, and he's also a member of the House Judiciary Committee. And obviously you lived through it, but I'm curious, Congressman, did you learn things from the presentation about just how close they came to you and your colleagues from the presentation your colleagues have put on today?
None of us had seen the security footage, and that showed how close they were. And we saw some of the statements of some of the people that they were going to kill any member that they came upon. And it's just very emotional to watch it and to realize we were there. It was a terrible time. And Donald Trump is responsible for every single minute of it, and the death of Officer Sickey, and the destruction of the Capitol, and the attempted overthrow of our government. And there is no penalty that could be meted out by law that he would not deserve.
We don't get to see the reaction of the senators in a deal that was worked out in advance with McConnell and Schumer. To many of us, they're names, but to you, you know these people. Certainly even your House colleagues. I'm curious, do you think when this is said and done, hearts and minds may have been changed across the aisle, and maybe we won't see political courage, but there'll be an acknowledgement that they lived through this too? And, you know, the fact that you guys had to take off your pins and literally hide from your lives because if identified, as we saw from some of the video, they were out for blood.
They weren't. I kind of felt it from the beginning. I knew it beforehand. I had told one of the news shows or some of the social media posts or whatever that there would be blood. I felt and violence on this day, and this was a long time before it occurred. When Donald Trump said, "Be there and it'll be wild," and I'd seen what they had done during the march on the MAGA march about 2 or 3 weeks earlier, I knew that it was inevitable. There would be death, there would be violence, and I was, of course, I feared it'd be death to a congressperson. I had to think about the Capitol Police, but they turned on them too. And Officer Sickey's life was lost, and then 2 officers succumbed to suicide, but many were hurt too. It was the most disgraceful period and one of the most disgraceful times in our country's history. And these people, when I was looking at these films, I was getting angry at the insurrectionists, and I am angry at them. And I think they were inclined toward this. They were the worst group you could put together. They were a violent group that has a lot of anger at government, anger at authority, and they've been indoctrinated by Donald Trump. They've allowed themselves to be indoctrinated by him. They're part of his cult, and they believe all of the lies that he's told. And he's told over 30,000 certifiable lies while he was president. He's an inveterate liar, and he has no soul. He has absolutely no soul, and he's responsible for putting these people in this position and putting our Capitol in the shape that it was in, and the killing. He's really responsible for the death of Officer Sickey.
You know, I think somebody would have to be hard-pressed or just politically cowardly after seeing all the evidence laid out that long before January 6th, but certainly from the run-up to the election and then thereafter, the president cultivated the crowd. He invited them down to Washington, and then he pointed them to the Capitol. The piece of evidence that I'm wondering we'll hear is when it happened, what then? What was he warned, meaning the president and those close to him? And then during the riot, what did he do? And I want to play an audio clip from Senator Ben Sasse, a Republican from Nebraska, who gave an account from people firsthand what he was told the president was doing during the riots.
He wanted chaos on television. I don't have any idea what was in his heart about what he wanted to happen once they were in the Capitol, but he wanted there to be chaos, and I'm sure you've also had conversations with other senior White House officials, as I have.
I have.
As this was unfolding on television, Donald Trump was walking around the White House confused about why other people on his team weren't as excited as he was, as you had rioters pushing against Capitol Police trying to get into the building. As it was happening, he was delighted.
So, Congressman, my point is maybe some of his accusers will say, well, he may have brought him to Washington. He didn't know what they would have done. You and I don't believe that. I don't think the majority of America does. But the question, and apparently Maggie Haberman's had this in her reporting, the Washington Post as well. We heard what Senator Sasse said. Do you think we're going to hear from folks, and do you think we should hear from witnesses that can talk about the president's reaction during the riots, why more help wasn't brought to bear? At the end, he was the commander-in-chief during an assault and an insurrection. What did he do when it was going on?
He celebrated in the fact that what it was going to be his Waterloo, the Electoral College sealing his defeat in the election. He was thrilled at the fact that there was a counter-protest, or not a counter-protest, but a counter-activity that was the protest that he encouraged and the invasion he encouraged that was trying to disrupt that Waterloo, that Electoral College defeat. He was cheering it on. He thought he could still maintain power. And he liked the fact that his followers and his future was still alive and had hope to come out of this successfully. And that's what he arranged. And he was enjoying it. I knew he would. I knew he would enjoy it. It was something that he planned to have as an alternative experience to the Electoral College. And it was as alternative as you can be, ultra illegal, lawless, violent, against the constitutional, against the government. It was a revolution. It was an insurrection. And he loved that. He is the most narcissistic individual we've ever seen in this country. You can't come up with almost anything that's a negative about somebody that he does not max out. He's a narcissistic sociopath. He doesn't care about others. He probably has no concern about the death of the officer, the destruction. One officer lost an eye, 3 lost their fingers, 2 committed suicide because of the horror of this they experienced. He doesn't have a sense of remorse. He plays golf and he eats at Mar-a-Lago, and he can probably, it's all about him. It's unfathomable that this man got to be the president of the United States. It's just unfathomable.
And to me, what's unfathomable is you got to go back to Chambers, not only the scene of the crime, but you're going to look across the aisle, and there is legitimate questions as to whether or not certain Republicans gave recon to the rioters in the advance of the insurrection. I know that Marjorie Taylor Greene may have been stripped of committees, but she continues to go on right now. People, beyond all the things we talked about, there was a Camp Auschwitz shirt. There was a Confederate flag in our Capitol. And some of the elements of the Republican Party are still playing footsie with this crowd. How do you do business with these people after what happened?
Most of the Republicans I've gotten to know over this is my 15th year in Congress, and a lot of them have been people I've found friendship with. And I have to say, after this has occurred, it's almost impossible to be friends with some of them. And it's taken me some effort to be friends with those that I've renewed my contacts with and can talk to. They voted to overthrow or overrule the election, the votes of Pennsylvania and Arizona, and they would have done more. They signed the amicus brief, which was a joke, just because Trump wanted them to try to propel the Texas lawsuit challenging Pennsylvania's vote count. They have, I think, violated their oath. They've not defended the Constitution, and they've shown a great deal of cowardice. I mean, there are 10 people that voted 10 Republicans who voted for the impeachment. There are 11 who voted to expel Marjorie Greene from her committees. They were heroic, but it's difficult. And I saw one of these fellas. We went on a Codell to West Point Academy. We were friends. I saw him, but after this, he said, "Hello, hey, Steve," and I just turned my head away. It's hard to talk to him now, and some of them were complicit. The proof hadn't come out; it may never come out. I suspect it will. One is known to have tweeted from the chamber. Nancy Pelosi has been taken out of the chamber. Now, this could have been just somebody reporting the activities. I think when I was in the chamber, I tweeted out, we're being told to put our gas mask on, and we're being told that the doors are locked and we can hear banging on the door, something to that effect. I don't have family, and children, so I didn't have anybody to relate to at that point and say, "Hey, I love you," and I did think I could die, but I didn't have as many family members that they would communicate with. It was just, but you realize you could have died, and I knew that, and I got out of there and was fortunate to get out, and I owe my life to the Capitol Police. And I was with the Capitol Policeman on Sunday before the Wednesday, January 6th attack, and we were sitting in a car, and I told him, I said, I've seen some issues about the possibility of these people bringing guns into Washington, and they're being armed insurrectionists and armed people coming to the Capitol. And it could be, and he answered me in a kind of a quiet, respectful tone. He just said, "Yes, our intelligence says it could be a terrible day." So he knew it on Sunday. He was just a rank and file Capitol policeman. For some reason, they had intelligence. They didn't act on it. Why they didn't act on it, I don't know. Whether it was a racial thing, whether it was a Trump thing, I don't know. Maybe it was just incompetence. But the Capitol policemen, the rank and file, weren't given the support and the equipment they needed and the reinforcements. The National Guard should have been there. And the National Guard there was earlier, they'd had some changes in the policy for the National Guard to be asked to come out anyway. I think it was after the attacks on Washington, and they used helicopters and all that. And I think they changed their policy in general. But, Trump had put his people in charge of the Department of Defense, incompetent, unqualified people. Esper left and others left, and he put his people in. And I think he had visions of using them for his benefit. I mean, Mike Flynn went to the MAGA march on Washington and said that we should invoke a martial law, and that we should take over Washington and then have the military do it. And so I think that Flynn didn't say that, in my opinion, without approval from Trump, and he might have been trying a trial balloon. They were trying to, indeed, an insurrection. They would have killed Pence. They would have killed Pelosi. And if they got a hold of me, they'd have killed me. I mean, I was for Trump's impeachment from a long time back. I filed the most comprehensive resolution with 17 sponsors after Charlottesville, and have spoken against Trump pretty consistently. And I think they would have known that. And I suspect I'd have been killed.
Well, Congressman, you hang in there, and I really appreciate you giving us your perspective tonight. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We come back, everybody. Shocking episodes of racism that day, and they were presented as part of the case today, including a Capitol Police officer brought to tears after the supporters of that mob of the president heckled him with racial slurs. After the break, one of the top civil rights activists in our country, Ben Jealous, he'll join us to discuss that